Hello. In this episode, we take a look at ERB, Rails default templating language, and the 4 common ERB tags you might see in Rails applications. Okay, the first step, let's create a new Rails app. For this example, Rails new plates. Now let's run our Rails server to make sure everything is up and running. Go to localhost 3000. Great, we are on Rails. Okay, let's create a new controller called pages, and we'll have an index action. This will be our static page that we will use for our example. Let's just update our routes. Great. And let's open up the next page. So ERB, what does it stand for? Well, it's embedded Ruby. Now, what are the 4 common ERB tags we normally see in Rails applications? We have the percentage equals, oops, if I can get this right, come on. Percentage hash, and the percentage minus. Okay, let's take a look at the percentage tag first. Let's create a new section. Let's create a new headline, and just make sure this is code. Okay, so we can see this on our site. We have to make sure we add an extra percentage so it will evaluate. So it won't evaluate. There we go. What is this? What is this? Or what does this do? Okay, so what does this do? Let's look at an example. You might see something like this in your application. If user signed in, welcome back. Else, or you are not signed in. Now all the percentage does is it executes a Ruby code within the brackets. Now let's just quickly implement a simple helper method for user signed in. So in our application helper, I'll just quickly add a method user signed in and just do true. So if user is signed in, it'll display welcome back. Else, if not, it will say we are not signed in. And we'll just create a notice, I guess. A notice. That might be better. Let's refresh. Okay, as you can see, it says welcome back. Let's do this here. Example, so we know what we're working on. Now if we change this to false and refresh, you're not signed in. And that's it, it's just evaluating Ruby code. Now let's look at our next example, which is the percentage equals. Let's create a new section here. Let's wrap this around code. There we go. Actually, let's create a horizontal rule. What does this do? So what does the percentage equals do? Simple. It basically prints something on our screen. Let's take a look at an example. So let's create a class called print something. So do 1 plus 1. So we've got 2 there. So you might see something like an instance variable, like page title, for instance. So we could just quickly do that. Page title. Plate store. And there we go. That printed that out. I might just wrap that in a h3 tag. Okay, next. So the next common tag we see is the percentage hash. Okay, having a hard time typing today. What does this do? Let me just, what does this do? Just put a horizontal rule again. Let's figure this out. So what does the percentage hash do? Well, it's basically commenting your code. So let's suppose we're evaluating and printing to screen 2 plus 2. And that works there. So let's say we want to comment that out. All we have to do is add the hash there, and it will disappear. Now what's interesting is if we look at our comment div here, block, it doesn't display it. Now that's quite interesting. Now let's suppose we have just standard HTML, 4 plus 4 equals 8, and we want to comment this out. So let's just refresh to make sure it's coming up on the screen. Now with HTML, we comment things like this. If we go to our section here, you can see it's evaluating here. But if we refresh, now it's gone. And if we go back, let's just make this bigger. It displays it there. It's just commented it out, and the browser is not displaying it on our screen. Okay, so let's take a look at the next example, which is the percentage, so the minus percentage here. Now, you might actually see something like this example. If user signed in, let's say do something, or more like show something else. Show something else. So basically what the minus percentage does in ERB is omit the blank line. Now, since Rails isn't using the Ruby standard library's ERB, it's actually using a different implementation, Erubis. And by default, it actually doesn't show the new line, so that's not required. Okay, just for clarity, what that means is if we had this here, it will actually look something like this example. So if the user is signed in, it will do show something, and see how you've got the blank lines there. Now, again, with Rails, that's omitted by default, so it'll just simply show that. And that's it. That's the 4 common ERB tags we generally see in our Rails applications. I hope you enjoyed that. Until next time.